Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The target of a lot of games media's hatred in recent times. A lot of major games media outlets like IGN, GameSpot, and WhatCulture absolutely hate this thing, which might have meant something if not for the fact that they've hated this game long before any of us played it, and they weren't shy about it. Any chance the media got to shit on this game, they took it. And if they didn't have the chance, they made one. Seriously, what did Rocksteady do to them? I gotta assume Rocksteady desecrated the graves of IGN employees' loved ones or something. They must have spat in the face of the GameSpot CEO's mother, right? It's gotta be some shit like that, because from the literal moment we found out this game was multiplayer years ago, all the way to release, you couldn't pay these people to say a positive word about Suicide Squad. They were nicer to Gotham Knights, a game that was visibly inferior to this. They were nicer in the lead up to the day before, a game with more red flags than an LA gang member. So the borderline smear campaign has been very odd to me for a long time. But now the game is out, and we can all discover the truth for ourselves. So, was all this hate warranted? Is Suicide Squad as bad as the boomer media has led us to believe? Well, the short answer is no. But I've never really been one for short answers. So now I, Waifu Belector, the only fair human on earth, will talk to you about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. What's good? What's bad? And what are just indifferent facts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you end up enjoying. Alright, let's start with the positive, and likely one of the earliest things you'll notice when playing this game. And that is, it feels really good. Everything has been made to feel very enjoyable. It feels responsive, it feels fluid, impactful, punchy, everything it needs to be in a moment-to-moment scenario. The actual feel of controlling and piloting your character has been acutely fine-tuned, complete with every character having their own unique traversal that all differ but all feel great. And the satisfying flow of control also carries into the actual shooting. It feels weighty and hard-hitting when you crit an enemy and their body goes flying into the air, or when you melee an enemy and it pops into a bunch of shields and ammo. Those core components of the game feel very satisfying and fun, which makes a lot of sense considering that Rocksteady want this game to have some longevity and legs. The word to sum all this up is polish. The game is polished, like a precious gemstone or a bald head. And a cornerstone to any action game, be it a shooter or melee, is that the game actually feels good to play. Feeling good. Not just looking good or seeming fun, but actually being that in the moment to moment. And Suicide Squad looks and feels great to play pretty much immediately. Now, when we get into the gameplay systems and the loop, we're not looking at anything too revolutionary, and this may be the most dampening part of the game, because it is mostly looter shooter 101, with the key things that make this game stand out from others that are similar being that the enjoyability of Suicide Squad's gameplay can actually back up its genre aspirations. That, and there's actually a good story attached to this that doesn't feel especially secondary to the looting and shooting. I'll get more into the story in a bit, but for now I want to stay on the game loop. As I said, it is very standard looter shooter mostly, outside of the couple of more major differences I noted. But yeah, you're running around, you're shooting guys, you're getting loot, you're doing missions, and those missions tend to cycle through a handful of objective types and modifiers, all of which you get pretty used to pretty quickly. Because of the aforementioned polish and quality of the gameplay though, I think that most people will find this game more enjoyable than a lot of similarly set up titles. But if you really fuck with the looter shooter genre, you may very well feel like you're in heaven playing Suicide Squad. I'll also say that I think this game has a good endgame in-game loop. A number of new objective types and missions pop up in the post-game that help to refresh the fun just as it begins to go stale a bit. That and, the typical grind to continually up the difficulty. Standard looter shooter shit. And see, the thing is, while structurally Suicide Squad is by most accounts pretty by the books, they've executed this genre at a high level in almost every facet. I say most because although the crafting element is available for most of the game, it's pretty shallow and useless for the majority. It's not until you're in the post game that crafting seems to really have any value, honestly. But in truth, crafting systems are pretty shallow in most games they're in. So you could look at it like Suicide Squad is better for the fact that its crafting ever gets decent. But that's not really how I look at it. There was kinda just this pointless thing that sat there all game until it eventually became mildly interesting. Hardly a W on that front. But okay. Let's talk about the story a bit. Most stories attached to looter shooters are pretty below average because the story is not a draw really, just a vehicle for more looting and more shooting. However, here in Suicide Squad, as you can imagine, seeing as how they did the Arkham games, the story is more prominent and of a significantly higher quality than is typical for the genre. This story is really good. It's not pure perfection or anything, but it is really good. It's really funny and just generally entertaining. The spirit of the Suicide Squad's comedic action tone is fully intact while respecting the integrity of the Justice League characters. And most importantly for the wider casual audience, it's just a thoroughly entertaining jaunt. I really think people will like it. There's also the matter of the co-op in this cooperative looter shooter, because you can play this whole game solo, but it is fundamentally made to be played with others as a squad. And yet, this game seems to have still taken more care to make sure that a solo experience is actually a viable and fun one, much more so than other co-op games that make similar claims that you can play them alone. Often when co-op games make that claim, it's really not true, and playing solo is terrible. Suicide Squad, however, is not. I've played with my friends and I've played alone, and I've played for a significant amount of time both ways. And honestly, the game's a little bit harder solo, but it really is a minor difficulty difference in my opinion. Plus, that slight solo challenge uptick is kinda enjoyable. But running around exploding brainiac troops and competing for high scores per mission with your friends is really fun too. There's also the added bonus of experiencing the story with your friends as well. But I promise you, the game is just as viable a solo experience as it is a co-op experience. I'm a lonely little solo gamer at heart. I wouldn't lie to you about this. So yeah, there you have it, I guess. I tried to keep it short and sweet. Not much more to add anyway. To sum it all up with a cute little bow, Suicide Squad largely outperforms the majority of its genre competitors, even if its lack of nearly any original ideas holds it back from going beyond greatness. Still, I'd say we have a great game in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and it's well worth your time. If you're a fan of the looter shooter genre, this is easily one of the best ones you can play. It also feels like a must play if you're a DC fan, whereas something like Gotham Knights I feel like you can kinda skip over if you want. So yeah, Suicide Squad. If I had to put a number on it, I'm feeling a nice firm 8 out of 10. And I honestly don't want to say that the game is an 8, because it's so far removed from what the media is saying that I don't want to feel like a contrarian or come off like that. But this is honestly just what I think is correct. This is what I think is the correct score for the game. So at the end of the day, I gotta say what I gotta say. Taken for what it's trying to do, Suicide Squad does what it intends with nary a stumble. They managed to cook up better in-game than most, better movement than most, better gameplay feel than most, and if they'd had a truly standout gameplay feature that felt on display and wholly original, we may have gone to the moon. But we still got what I would deem to be a great game. And honestly, just a tad bit better than I thought it'd be. But okay, I'm done. Now it's your time to shine. Hop in those comments and do your favorite thing. Tell me how stupid and wrong I am. I can't wait to read it. And on the off chance that you enjoyed this video, consider liking or subscribing to the channel. Even if you don't though, thanks for watching. Until next time, I am Waifu Belector. I am just a normal guy. I like hentai, and I'm still not sure why I'm supposed to hate this game. Goodbye.